Have you ever felt like you love deeper than everyone else? Like your heart understands emotions before words are even spoken? Like you can sense pain behind someone's smile, and yet somehow you are the one who ends up hurt the most? If that sounds familiar, then you might be what psychology calls an empath at the Sophia stage. The final stage of emotional awakening, where love is no longer innocent. It becomes conscious, powerful, and dangerous if misunderstood. But here is what most people don't realize. Even highly evolved empathic women can fall into hidden emotional traps, especially in love. And according to Carl Jung's deepest reflections on relationships, the greatest heartbreak doesn't come from loving the wrong person. It comes from misunderstanding your own emotional patterns. Because when an empath reaches the Sophia stage, her love transforms. She no longer seeks attention. She seeks soul connection. She no longer chases. She recognizes. She no longer loves blindly. She loves with awareness. But here's the shocking part. This level of love attracts two types of people: those capable of true connection, and those who want to consume your light. And if you don't understand the difference, you can lose yourself completely. Jung believed that love is never just about another person. It is about the unconscious parts of ourselves being activated. This means when you feel an intense emotional pull toward someone, it is not always destiny. Sometimes it is your psyche projecting unmet needs, childhood wounds, or hidden desires onto them. Empaths at the Sophia stage are especially vulnerable to this, because they feel emotions so strongly that attraction can feel spiritual, almost fated. You meet someone and suddenly conversations feel effortless. Eye contact feels electric. Silence feels comfortable. And you think, this must be real love. But Jung warned that intense emotional familiarity does not always mean compatibility. Sometimes it means psychological recognition. You are recognizing patterns from your past, not necessarily your future. And this is where many empath women make a painful mistake. They assume depth equals safety. They believe because someone understands their emotions, that person must also value them. But emotional understanding and emotional maturity are not the same thing. A person can read your soul and still not be capable of loving you properly. In fact, highly intuitive people often attract emotionally unavailable partners because their empathy creates comfort, and comfort creates attachment. The empath gives understanding, patience, emotional support, and the other person gives just enough affection to keep the bond alive. This creates what Jung described as a psychological loop, a cycle where the empath feels responsible for healing the other person. And here is the dangerous illusion. You start believing your love can transform them. You think if you are patient enough, supportive enough, loyal enough, they will eventually choose you fully. But love is not therapy, and devotion does not create commitment. The Sophia stage empath eventually realizes a painful truth. You cannot be chosen by someone who is not choosing themselves. And this realization changes everything. Because before Sophia, love is often about hope. After Sophia, love becomes about clarity. You stop asking, how can I make this work? And start asking, does this truly align with my soul? Jung believed that mature love requires individuation, meaning two whole individuals choosing each other freely, not two wounded people trying to complete each other. But empaths often grow up learning that love means giving more, sacrificing more, understanding more. So when they encounter someone emotionally complicated, they feel drawn instead of cautious. Complexity feels familiar, and familiarity feels like connection. But the Sophia empath begins to see patterns others miss. She notices inconsistency in behavior, words that don't match actions, affection that appears and disappears, emotional intimacy followed by distance. And instead of ignoring these signs, she feels them deeply. This is where her awakening accelerates, because she starts understanding that love without stability is not passion. It is anxiety. And anxiety is not a foundation for connection. It is a warning signal. Jung once suggested that what we are most attracted to often reflects what is missing inside us. So when an empath feels obsessed with someone unavailable, it is often because part of her still seeks validation, reassurance, or emotional security. But the Sophia stage is about reclaiming that power. It is about realizing that love should expand your nervous system, not exhaust it. It should feel peaceful, not confusing. And the moment an empath truly understands this, her entire relationship pattern begins to shift. But this transformation is not easy, because awareness breaks illusions, and illusions can feel safer than truth. So in the next part, we will uncover the hidden love patterns Jung warned about, the subtle emotional traps that empaths fall into without realizing, and the signs that someone is connected to you, or simply connected to what you give them. And if you are someone who loves deeply, you need to hear this, because one insight could protect your heart for years. If you're ready to understand your emotional power on a deeper level, make sure you subscribe, because what you're about to learn might completely change how you see love. One of the most important things Carl Jung discovered about love is that we rarely fall in love with a person. We fall in love with the meaning they represent inside our unconscious. And for empaths at the Sophia stage, this meaning is often tied to emotional rescue. You meet someone who seems wounded, misunderstood, carrying silent pain, and something inside you activates instantly. You feel compassion before logic, closeness before trust, loyalty before commitment. It feels natural, almost automatic, like your heart has already decided before your mind has time to question it. But Jung warned that when attraction is driven by unconscious patterns, it creates what he calls projection. Projection means you are not seeing the person clearly. You are seeing your own inner desires reflected onto them. You believe they are deeper than they actually are, more compatible than reality shows, more committed than their actions prove. And the reason this happens to empaths more than others is because empathy amplifies perception. You don't just see behavior, you feel potential. You sense who someone could become, not who they are right now. And this creates one of the most dangerous love traps, falling in love with possibility instead of reality. The Sophia empath begins to recognize this pattern after experiencing emotional exhaustion. She notices that she is always the one understanding, always the one waiting, always the one forgiving. The connection feels intense, but also unstable. There are moments of deep closeness followed by emotional distance, affection followed by confusion, promises followed by inconsistency, and her nervous system starts living in anticipation, wondering when the warmth will return. This is not love. This is intermittent reinforcement, the same psychological mechanism that creates addiction. The brain releases dopamine during unpredictable rewards, making the connection feel more valuable than it actually is. So the empath becomes attached not only to the person, but to the emotional highs and lows themselves. Jung believed that unconscious attraction often pulls us toward people who activate unresolved wounds. For example, if someone grows up feeling emotionally unseen, they may be drawn to partners who offer occasional validation, but not consistent presence. When the validation appears, it feels powerful, almost euphoric, because it touches an old unmet need. But because it disappears again, the empath works harder to earn it back. This creates a cycle where love becomes effort instead of mutual exchange. And the most painful realization for Sophia stage empaths is this: You cannot heal someone into loving you properly. Healing is an internal decision, not something another person can create through devotion. Many empath women believe that if they love enough, give enough, stay patient enough, the other person will eventually recognize their value. But recognition without emotional capacity changes nothing. Someone can appreciate you and still not choose you. They can care about you and still not commit. They can feel connected and still prioritize their fears over your relationship. The Sophia awakening begins when you stop interpreting mixed signals as depth. You realize that inconsistency is not complexity. It is information. It is showing you exactly what someone is capable of giving. Jung emphasized that mature love requires reciprocity. Two individuals meet each other consciously. Not one person is pouring energy while the other receives it. When balance is missing, the relationship becomes psychologically draining. And empaths often ignore this imbalance because they are used to emotional labor. They think love means effort, sacrifice, endurance. But Sophia's love is different. It is calm, grounded, stable. It does not require you to shrink yourself to maintain harmony. It does not create anxiety about losing the person. It does not leave you questioning your worth. Instead, it feels like emotional safety. And here is the turning point. When an empath reaches Sophia stage awareness, her attraction patterns begin to change. She becomes less interested in intensity and more attracted to consistency, less drawn to mystery and more drawn to clarity, less impressed by words and more attentive to actions. And this shift can feel confusing at first, because peaceful love feels unfamiliar when you are used to emotional roller coasters. You might even mistake calm for boredom. But Jung believed that true connection reduces inner chaos. It does not amplify it. So when you meet someone who respects your boundaries, communicates clearly, shows up consistently, and does not trigger insecurity, that is not lack of passion. That is emotional alignment. And many Sophia empaths initially overlook these partners because they do not create adrenaline. But adrenaline is not love. It is nervous system activation. Real love feels like home, not like a storm. In the next part, we will uncover Jung's deepest hidden truth about love. The realization that changes how Sophia stage empaths choose partners forever. And the subtle sign that someone is truly connected to your soul, not just your energy. Because once you understand this final insight, you will never chase emotional uncertainty again. The final realization that transforms love for a Sophia stage empath is something Carl Jung understood after decades of studying human relationships. And it is surprisingly simple, yet emotionally life-changing. He realized that the deepest human desire is not to find someone perfect, but to find someone psychologically safe. Safety, not intensity, is what allows love to grow into something lasting. But many empaths confuse intensity with connection because intensity feels powerful in the beginning. There are long conversations, emotional confessions, strong attraction, moments that feel almost spiritual. And the empath thinks, this must be rare. This must be destiny. But Jung warned that intensity often comes from unconscious wounds recognizing each other. Two people with unresolved fears can create powerful chemistry. But chemistry alone cannot sustain a relationship. Without emotional stability, intensity eventually turns into exhaustion. The Sophia empath eventually reaches a moment of clarity where she asks herself one question that changes everything. Do I feel peaceful with this person? Or do I feel anxious? Because anxiety is information. When someone truly values you, your nervous system relaxes around them. You do not feel the need to overthink messages, analyze tone, or question their commitment. Their presence feels consistent. Their words match their behavior. Their affection does not disappear when circumstances change. And this is where Jung's hidden love insight becomes clear. Real love does not activate your survival instincts. It soothes them. If you constantly feel uncertainty, fear of loss, or emotional imbalance, your psyche is telling you something important. Many empath women ignore these signals because they believe love requires endurance. They think loyalty means staying through confusion. But loyalty without reciprocity becomes self-abandonment. And Sophia's stage awareness is about ending self-abandonment permanently. You begin to recognize that your empathy is a gift, but it must be protected by boundaries. You can understand someone's pain without accepting behavior that hurts you. You can care about someone without sacrificing your emotional stability. You can love deeply without losing yourself. Jung believed that individuation, becoming your true self, changes the way you choose partners. Instead of seeking someone to complete you, you seek someone who complements you. Instead of chasing validation, you recognize your own worth. Instead of tolerating inconsistency, you require alignment. And this is why Sophia stage empaths often experience a period of solitude before finding the right partner. Solitude is not punishment. It is recalibration. Your nervous system is learning peace after years of emotional overstimulation. You are breaking old attraction patterns, rewiring what feels familiar. And during this phase, you might feel misunderstood by others. Friends may ask why you are single. Why did you end something that looked good? Why you are more selective now? But what they do not see is your internal transformation. You are no longer attracted to potential. You are attracted to presence. You are no longer impressed by charm. You are attentive to consistency. You are no longer chasing connections. You are observing compatibility. And then, when you finally meet someone aligned with your energy, the difference feels almost shocking. There is no confusion, no emotional guessing, no fear of losing them. The connection develops naturally, calmly, steadily. You feel seen, respected, valued. And for the first time, love does not feel like effort. It feels like cooperation. This is the love Jung believed humans are truly searching for. Conscious love between two individuated people. Not dependency, not projection, not emotional rescue, but mutual growth. And here is the most powerful truth for Sophia stage empaths. The right person will never require you to prove your worth. They will recognize it immediately. Because emotionally healthy people do not fear depth. They appreciate it. They do not run from empathy. They cherish it. They do not exploit kindness. They reciprocate it. So if you have experienced heartbreak in the past, it does not mean you loved the wrong way. It means you were learning discernment. Every painful connection showed you what love is not, so you could recognize what love truly is. And once this awareness is integrated, you become almost impossible to manipulate emotionally. You trust your intuition, but you also trust behavior. You listen to feelings, but you verify with actions. You give love, but you expect balance. That is the Sophia stage. Emotional wisdom combined with self-respect. And when an empath reaches this level, relationships stop being confusing, because clarity replaces illusion. If this message resonates with you, it is not an accident. It means you are evolving emotionally, and your perception of love is changing. Make sure you subscribe and join this journey, because understanding your psychology might be the most important transformation of your life